What it is, everybody, thanks for tuning back into another episode here on the Speedbug channel. I got another Ducati video for you today. Maybe not as nice as the other ones that have come in, but y'all seem to ask this question a lot in the comments, and I have not replaced this bike with another one or another one like it yet, and that is my X Diavel S. I had that in the white, and y'all really ask why I got rid of it, and I gave all of y'all many times in many other videos a very quick answer to why I sold that, but along with all of them, because I sold all 4 of them on the exact same day. But the reason that I specifically wanted that one gone as well, because I really do actually miss that bike, and I like that bike because it was cool, it was awesome, it was like it was a fast hyper cruiser, it was really badass. But let me just tell you, the V4, I'm not gonna lie, was a real big piece of shit, but the X Diavel, I think, was the bike that honestly broke the most. And that bike did leave me stranded a few times. That bike wouldn't start. That bike was just plagued with problems from day one. And for all of the ones that you want to sit here and say, oh, you probably had a first gen or first model, this, that, no, I didn't. I checked that out, and it doesn't always necessarily matter whether you get the first one or the last one. That still doesn't mean that it's going to have less problems than the first year that it comes out. I generally do think that is a myth, but in some cases and some points where it's all new platforms and everything, that's a whole nother long conversation for something that we're not going to put into this video. But that bike did end up leaving me stranded, and it gave me more problems than I would say than any Ducati that I've ever owned. Next following would be for sure the V4, and it wasn't very far behind it. The X Diavel, where the back brakes went out, I think 4 times or something like that. One time it locked up on the expressway, had made me stop. Fuel tank sender went out, which is very common, I guess, on all of them. Went out twice. Front brakes it felt like they were pretty much on their way out. And I sold the bike, I think, only with like 2,000 miles. The key fob, that was one of like the awesome and one of the cool selling points of the bike. Now, I know Harley Davidson had this for a long time on their bikes, and many other bikes like the GS BMWs have keyless ignition and stuff like that, but this bike was pretty badass because it allowed you to do a lot of things with it from the key fob and hidden menus that the dealership didn't know about. Whatever. But all that shit didn't matter if you walk up to the bike and you try and start your bike and your shit don't turn on. And it was like a crapshoot. It was like literally, I would probably say 40% of the time, it wouldn't recognize the key. So then you had to enter your code, and you had to set your code so that you could start your bike because it didn't remember that you had your key fob. And for the ones you say, well, you can just ride it without the key fob. Well, yeah, that's cool, that's fine, but how you gonna put gas in it? You still need the key to put gas in it. And you'd be riding, all of a sudden you're cruising down the street, and then all of a sudden, gas gauge goes away. Don't show that you have any gas because the sending unit had went out. Now, only the part where the sending unit, where it actually displays how much gas is actually in the bike, not the entire unit where it actually contains with the fuel pump and everything like that. The fuel pump always did work. A lot of other individuals had issues with rocks and stuff like that flinging up in their belt, in their rear belt, and it's snapping and breaking. But I fortunately did not have any of those issues. That was perfectly fine. My belt was perfectly fine, and I even raced and beat on that bike and no issues. I would power shift. Did you guys see me do 150, 160 miles an hour plus many times on that bike? Another horrible thing that I found, which was ridiculous. Anytime you'd run this thing over, let's just say 8,000 RPM between the gears, and you'd run it through to make the shift light come on because you'd run through the next gear. Now, if you did it through one gear, then it was perfectly fine. But the breather system for the crankcase, whoever designed that at Ducati Volkswagen, you need to seriously be fired. You have a V-twin or L-twin, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's a V-twin in my opinion. And that this thing is going to create excessive crankcase pressure, given the fact of the symmetrical design of the engine. Now, obviously, some bikes have more positive crankcase pressure than others, and that comes into a lot of other things, how the sloshing of the the oil pan is, compression ratio, all kinds of other things come into play with that. But you know that if this thing creates excessive crankcase pressure, and every single time I would rev this thing out, this thing would piss oil out of the breather tubes, and sometimes it would even leak out of the oil filter. Now, for the ones that just say, well, crank the oil filter down tighter. Well, you don't want to do that because heat naturally seals that with that gasket to the block where the oil pressure, the oil filter housing unit is. And if you crank it on there too tight, it's a pain in the ass, and sometimes you can't get it off, and you have to puncture it and all of these other things, and it just makes it a headache for when you actually have to change the oil. So you don't necessarily always want to do that. Rule of thumb is, you twist it on there. Once it stops, you can give it a half a turn, and it's usually good. If my cars that have way more positive crankcase pressure and other bikes can do it just fine, well, why can't they get their shit together and do it? So you'd be driving and you'd be racing or playing and having a good time with your boys, your girls, and your group, this, that, whatever, and you pull up next to a light and you look down and there's oil and shit all over the side of your bike and all over the exhaust. And you're sitting here thinking, well, you done broke a line, an oil cooler or something like that, and that's not the case. That shit's all coming out of the breather ports and leaking out of the oil filter housing. So even when it went in for Ducati, it went into Ducati and they investigated it and they saw it and they actually recognized that it was a problem with the design, and they pretty much came back and said, ain't shit we can do about it. That's just how the bike is designed. And I mean, the dealership, what are they going to do about it? If the manufacturer hasn't provided them a solution to fix it, there really isn't much that you can do besides just deal with it or get rid of it. So as you ride, and this is my cruiser that I kind of wanted to ride and be comfortable with, but I didn't want to ever ride it and take, a couple 100-mile trips, whether it be by myself or with a group or even with a passenger, and just be like, now my bike doesn't start. What am I going to do? You're kind of just SOL. So it really put and rubbed me with a wrong taste, in my mouth. As far as some of the handlebars and things like that, I never really had an issue or anything with mine that other individuals reported that they had. I did have many, many, many issues with the Bluetooth connectivity and having that work with the helmet, as well with the changing of the songs and things like that, and having it sync with your watch and your navigation. That shit never worked, and it worked okay even on my new 2020 S1000, but after so many times and seemed like so many turn-ons and turn-offs that it would always delete the phone or something like that. So maybe just the technology or something is too new for a motorcycle. I don't know, but it seems like they've had that shit down right in cars for a long time, and I don't know. The cars don't forget it, so apply the same technology between a car and a motorcycle. I don't know. So that was really the main reason that I sold that bike. It was just plagued and plagued and plagued with problems. I knew it was going to get worse and worse and worse. And the reliability standpoint of me getting stuck somewhere, and even if I just went down the street to McDonald's or something, and I take my key fob out, get on the bike, and it says no key detected, and I'm like, you piece of shit. And you have to sit there and you're acting like an idiot, and you look like a fool trying to start your own bike, and damn near look like you done stole it, and you're like, well, I guess one day it's gonna start. You hope so. So you just sit there and just, all right, okay, come on, Ducati, come on now. Come on now. Come on. Come on. Let's go try now. Oh, no key detected. Okay, come on now. Let's wait another 5 minutes. Come on now. Come on. Oh, now theft deterrent system, whatever, activated, and then it won't unlock the handlebars. It was just really, really, really annoying, and I was through with it. I was through with it. So for the ones that want to know, now you guys know, that's why that Joker is gone. There is no way in hell I would ever replace that bike with another one unless they would physically and insure me, insure me that there are no more issues. But I know that's just not going to happen with that bike and that brand. So I parted ways with it, and then when I get a little bit older, we'll figure out what other new cruiser that'll come through the channel. So, but that's going to wrap it up here for today's video. I hope y'all liked what you saw. Facebook, Instagram, at the Speed Bug, same name, here's YouTube. And we'll catch all of y'all here for another episode here on the Speed Bug channel. Peace.